Can you take quality photos in a small space? Well, I did, so I'm going to show you exactly how I did it so you can do the same.
Work hard, rest often.
What is going on, everyone? It is Finn Badgley, and recently I did a shoot with a friend of mine where we were in a fairly tight and closed space, but we made it work. We set up a couple different lights and we got some killer results out of it. So make sure you watch the full video to see how we got a bunch of different looks out of this small space and how we made that work. I always love doing shoots like this with people. I find it really helps to up their confidence and just really creates a great mood and vibe overall. Here's the thing, sometimes for these things, I'll actually go over to that person's space and shoot in there if that's easier for them. And that is exactly what happened here. Now, for a lot of these, I was using primarily LED lighting. You can see I used my Nanlite Pavo Tube 15C, reviewed that up here, to give a added bit of fill light in there. So we got the light coming in from the window in some of these earlier photos, really creating that nice backlight. You can see the glow here is from my Moment Cinebloom 10% filter, which you will find the review to up here. For this, I was on the Canon EOS R primarily with the 24-105 EF f4, and that's pretty much what I stayed on for the majority of these. Now that just allowed me to quickly get a lot of wide shots, a lot of tight shots, and go between the two. And for being in a small space, one thing I will say is it did help to stay on a bit of a wider focal length, to a bit of that wider range of the zoom, so that way you could actually get more in the frame. Now, yes, this does lead to distortion, but if you kind of know your angle and how to work with the model, you can actually have it lead to the overall mood of things. Sometimes that really wide close thing actually really works. And if you're not super wide, if you're not like on anything like a 17mm or anything, it shouldn't distort things too much, and you should still get a cool look out of it. And that's kind of what I went for here. We did have a lot of those wide and close shots that still led for a nice 3/4 or full body shot, like you can see here. And then sometimes I still did punch in closer to that 50mm, 70mm range, so that way you can get a little more of a detailed shot there, a little more of that kind of more intimate portrait rather than the kind of more full body. But this also just helps round out a complete story and editorial, is when you have those wider shots and then those tighter shots as well. Here we did a couple different looks and a couple different moods. So it starts out kind of really that backlit kind of glowy look, and then it goes to something a little darker, a little moodier, a little warmer as well. A lot of gold tones going on here, a little punchier. And then from there, it started getting darker, and that's really when we brought out a lot of the different colored lights, and when the RGB aspect of my Nanlite tube actually showed its power. And that is when I also paired it with a sunset lamp to give it a bit of a different look. So here we can see the way the two colors balance here, and I wanted to have a bit of the sunset lamp on her and then kind of fill the ambient with the color from the Pavo tube. And we can see really how having contrasting colors here led to a really unique look. I wanted that kind of bluey teal color on the Nanlite, and then that warm sunset glow from this sunset lamp, or vice versa. Switch it up and get a bunch of different looks here. And because both of these are RGB, you can get a lot of different looks out of just a couple lights, and that way as we change the outfit, we can get different moods and vibes through that. You can also see here sometimes we did have them a similar color, kind of that orangey red look, just to create a bit of a different vibe overall. And I really like how a lot of these different photos turned out, and it worked well because using the Nanlite, using the sunset lamp, they weren't huge soft boxes or anything like that. I didn't have huge lighting modifiers set up that would take up a lot of space in that environment, because then I would have like no room to work with, or the light wouldn't be quite the way I wanted it because they were too big to actually fit the way I wanted them to. So using a smaller, more condensed light source in this instance was super beneficial. And because the Nanlite, although it's a small tube, it's long enough where it still creates more of a soft light, which really worked for a lot of these images. Now, something else that we played around with here was putting lights in different places to really give a different look overall. For example, these shots, I believe I stuck my nan light inside the bathroom here coming out of the door, so you get that nice glow. And then we have the sunset lamp as well, just creating this overall look that just is really interesting. And then for some of these too, I even thought, oh, wouldn't that be cool if she had like some light on her face and stuff like that. So I brought out my Aperture M9 little LED light panel and put that in one spot, put the Nanlite Pavo tube with a warm glow behind the curtain, so it kind of peeked out and gave her some nice light on her face, and then just lit everything accordingly. So it had this super interesting look to it. It was kind of going for this indie movie, maybe sort of this like Euphoria kind of vibe that just lends to a really interesting look. It's something that is actually part of a larger series that I'm building that you can see a bunch of photos on over on my Instagram, as well as my Twitter if you're not following me there. Sometimes I post photos, sometimes I post random shower thoughts, so make sure to check that out. Links in the description as always. But a lot of these you can see using the different angles, using the space, using the optics of the lens, how you can actually work with a small space to create some incredible images. You can see here we got a bunch of different looks just by changing the outfit, changing the focal length, changing the lighting. The lighting made such a big difference to this because it just gave you completely different feels overall. And even though, yes, we were in the same area of the space, didn't really feel like it because of the changes that were happening here. Now, yes, we did have to move some furniture around, and yes, we did have to kind of shuffle things around a little bit, but in the end, we got it done. And that's the main thing. So if you have a small space, if you don't live in a huge studio, or you don't have access to a studio, or you're going to meet up with somebody and it's cold out or raining, or you don't want to go outside, and you just want to take some cool photos inside, there are a bunch of ways that you can do this. Grab some lights, grab some lamps if you have to, put them around, and this way you can create a bunch of different looks in a small space. Sometimes it is these limits on your creativity that actually lead to the best photos, and I think that's exactly what happened here. I had an idea going in of some of the shots that I wanted, and then from there I was able to look at the space and think, okay, how can I do this? Adapt on the fly and make it work. Something super important, but these creative limitations always lead to such great results. I find sometimes you get this like choice paralysis thing where if you have all the tools at your disposal, you're kind of like, well, I don't know what to do. And when you put those limitations on yourself and you have maybe an inkling of an idea going in, that is when you can create some incredible photos and or videos, whatever your preferred medium is. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've been wanting to take photos but you don't have a huge space, I hope this gave you some great tips on how to do just that. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos so you never miss an upload. Work hard, rest often, and as always, my friends, I'll see you on the next one.